Have I got some people here already? Fantastic. Just going to give it a few minutes for more people to turn up. If you've got any questions for me, pop them in the chat. So I'm going to be answering your questions in real time. And I'm going to do a live stream as well of the teardown of the prototype. Let's give it a few more minutes for people to join. Anyone got any itching questions they want to ask while they can get a word in? So pre-orders are now open on the website. If you go to endurabook.tech, you can place your order. It won't charge you yet. So you'll go through the whole pre-order process. You'll choose whether you want the spare battery. You'll choose whether you want the Zone OS version or the Windows 11 version, which are both available pre-installed. And it will show you your order total, but it won't actually charge you yet. Due to a quirk with WooCommerce, you can't add a battery and the laptop to the same order. You have to create two separate orders. I'm working on that, but I haven't managed to get that sorted in time. Right, let's get this fired up. So one of the things I've asked the manufacturer to work on is reducing the BIOS time. There is a new firmware build that they've put together. The problem is, in order to fix some of the ACP errors, they've actually had to change the hardware. So if I install the firmware on this, it might corrupt it. I've just ordered final samples that I'm going to put through their paces. And if I'm not happy with them, I'll refund your money. I'm not going to give you a product that I'm not happy with. But it's still a very quick boot time. Oops, I forgot the password. There we go. So it's running Zone OS out the box. The idea is that it's really intuitive for people who are new to Linux. I have tested it on Ubuntu, on Fedora, on Mint, on Debian, and on some Arch distros as well. But I'm doing Zone OS out the box because it's easy for people to understand. Looks like Windows 7 superficially, but of course you can install whichever distribution you favor. I'm including free 5-year warranty. I'm budgeting for that. I'm setting some money aside from every device to fund that warranty. You'll have a choice for simple repairs of whether I send you the part or whether you send it to me. You'll always have that option during the warranty period. But if you prefer to have no downtime and just have it posted directly, say a battery or an SSD, then we can do that. And then you don't have to send the computer in to me at all. Anyone want to ask any questions? I had some from my last survey, so let me address those. I remember one of them was, I announced in the last update that the factory can set a charge limit, but they've said we can't change it after shipping. So I can limit charging to 80% permanently, which is really good for your battery lifespan, can make it last up to 5 times longer. But obviously the duration on one charge will be lower. We can set it permanently to charge to 80%, pause there till 6 a.m. and then fully charge, which is kind of a middle ground because it's not sat at 100 all night, but it will still get to 100, which does wear it out slightly, or to always go to 100. Unfortunately, that is set at the factory. It's the nature of the EC in this model is that you can't change it on the consumer side. I am just going to go for charging to 100 because unless there is an overwhelming majority, I don't want to cap the battery life for those who do need it. What else did people ask about? Do feel free to put me through my paces in real time. No, who manufacturers. The manufacturer, they've just rebranded. They used to be called Shenzhen ZRC, and they've just rebranded. They've re-registered the company. So it's not Clevo. They prefer to work with more established companies. I am starting from zero. So the Shenzhen manufacturers, as long as you keep them in check, which I'm making sure that I do, are very flexible. They can do 200. That's my minimum that they've specified. They can do 90,000 a month and anything in between. So that's really suitable for what I'm working with. They've been really, really cooperative. They've done lots of firmware work. So suspend wasn't working to start with. For anyone who's not in the Linux world, that sleep can be a pain in the bum to get it working. And they fixed it within weeks. The fingerprint driver worked on Ubuntu, but not on Zorin, and they fixed that. And we've done lots of other firmware work around ACP errors. Secure boot was a bit flaky, so we're working on that. And that's all in progress. So it's not Clevo, it's a factory in Shenzhen, but I'm monitoring them very closely. I've got these, I've had them for 6 months. I've put them through their paces. I've found the weaknesses. The USB port's too stiff, the webcam's rubbish, and I'm getting them to fix them. Are they upstreaming their patches? I don't think they will. So at the firmware level, it's unique to the device. I think the fingerprint driver is proprietary. As part of the ACP cleanup, they've changed the module. So the new samples I'm going to get have a different module. They've confirmed it's Linux compatible. I'm not sure whether they need a driver or not, but it's using a USB lane. So hopefully it will work natively and there won't be a driver. But when things proprietary, there's only so much I can do. What else did people ask about? You're very welcome. Anyone else want to ask any questions? This is me completely unfiltered, as you can tell, in real time, showing that I'm not hiding anything. It does boot Zorin OS. I'm not photoshopping anything. It does work fine. The logs do show errors at the moment, but we've spent the last 3 months working on that. And by the time it gets to you, the logs will be squeaky clean and it will be really stable. Even from day one, I didn't find any compatibility problems. But I spotted quite a lot of firmware noise and I wanted to get that fixed properly. Okay, so battery limit, I'm afraid it's fixed at the factory. There's nothing you can do about that. Someone said in the last message, in the Netherlands, a US keyboard layout with a Euro sign standard. Really good to know. Thank you to that person. So this is a US keyboard. The minimum to actually change the keycaps is 1,000 units, which I'm not expecting for the first batch. Great it would be if it happens. So what they can do is they can engrave on the keyboard an extra layout. So next to each letter, if it's different in your country, initially UK only, but then EU, they can engrave your letter, what your keyboard would be, next to what it is on the US keycaps. So the first batch is going to be England, Scotland, and Wales only, because that makes the compliance easier. And then the second batch, which will be later this year, will be expanding into some EU countries, and you will get the keyboard layout for your country engraved in addition to the US layout. Once we get to 1,000 units per batch, we can then customize the keycaps and also remove the Windows logo for the Linux version, which would be nice. What will the longevity of the battery be when charging to 80%? I've looked at some research on this. I'm a little bit rusty, but some researchers suggested the lifetime of the battery can actually be up to 5 times longer if you only charge to 80%. It's something I do on all my gadgets. My Fairphone has an automatic function for that. And 3 years in, the battery is still going strong. And I manually unplug things at 80%. Batteries really hate being fully charged or fully discharged. And the closer you can keep them to 50%, the healthier they are. It does have a trade-off that if it never goes above 80%, it's not got as much charge in it, and the battery will go flat quicker, which is why, based on the feedback from the mailing list, I'm not going to make it permanently limit to 80%, because then there'd be no going back. Is it bad for the battery to always be on the power brick if the battery limit is 80%? If it was set to 80%, it wouldn't do much harm to leave it permanently plugged in. Normally, having it permanently plugged in is a disaster for the lifetime of the battery, because it puts it under higher chemical stress when it's closer and closer to 100%. If you do have charge limiting, that softens the blow, but what percentage of people wanted that? Only 25% wanted it to never exceed 80%, so I don't want to let down the other 75%. Right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a real-time teardown. So these are PHO screws. You probably won't have this in your DIY toolbox, but I got these from a standard DIY store. They're nothing particularly exotic. Shell, the top lid is aluminium and genuinely feels wonderful. It's a really nice lid. It's a really nice hinge, and it made me very happy when I first unboxed them. The rest is plastic, but it's really solid. I've had some relatives handle it, and one of them said she's got a rubbish Dell from work, and this feels more solid, which I was very pleased with. I've outdone Dell. So it's one part metal, the other part's plastic, but it's solid. It doesn't feel flimsy. So I'm going to undo these screws. Sorry, I can't understand that last comment. Are you asking about fan noise? There we go, it's biting now. Or was it that you can hear the fan on my laptop? Let's put it into energy saver. Sorry, that means nothing to me. Okay. Well, indeed. I can see we've got a few other people here. What do you want to know? So for those who've just joined, I'm going to do a teardown in real time. We've talked about Zone OS pre-installed. I've done a lot of work with the manufacturer on firmware. So the logs are currently a little bit noisy, but they'll be squeaky clean. Suspend works after some effort. It works consistently. I left it suspended all night the other day and it works fine. Warranty is 5 years. For the Zoan OS version, I'm also guaranteeing 15 years of updates. In the unlikely situation that Zoan S stops being compatible in 15 years' time, I'll provide a supported upgrade path. It'll be opt-in, so if you're happy with what you're on, it'll give you a dialogue and say, this is no longer supported, do you want to change it? Unlike Windows, if you say no, I will accept that no means no. But if you always want to be up to date, it will always be up to date for 15 years. And that's a commitment. The terms are on my website. The fans. Currently, the fan curve is quite aggressive and it spins up very quickly. That's one of the things the manufacturer's been working on. But as I said, I can't flash the firmware to these because they've actually changed the hardware. And the firmware for that hardware on this could brick it, which I don't want to risk. Thermally, it's very good. It cools down very quickly. I did a burn-in stress test. Cools down very quickly, but it does make a racket in the process. So we're working on making sure that the fans don't kick in unnecessarily early. Couple more to go. So you can definitely replace the big three because I've tried and I'm going to demonstrate it now. The battery, replaceable, and is already available on my website as a spare part. The SSD, replaceable, and there's a spare M2 port. So if 512 gigabytes isn't enough for you, you can have more. And the RAM is socketed DDR4 and also has a spare slot. The manufacturer's given me a list of other parts that they can supply. I'm still waiting on prices. But I haven't actually tried moving those, so I don't quite know how difficult it is. But it is possible, because otherwise they wouldn't be offering those as individual parts if it was glued together, which it isn't. There we go. We're in. Oh, I always forget the middle one, and then I wonder why I can't prise it off. Okay, got my iFixit kit. One thing that made me very happy, it actually has these little slots that you can get your prying tool under, which is really neat. So the nature of the manufacturer I'm working with, they build to order for various customers with whatever specs they want. So I'm not paying a premium for this to be modular. They've designed it to be modular to meet the needs of all their customers. And I can just benefit from that and offer you the same modularity. Display is Full HD IPS matte. Also, which again made me very happy, you can use it with sunglasses. The way it's polarized is the same as sunglasses. Every laptop I've ever had has been polarized in the other direction. And if you're wearing sunglasses, you can't see a thing. The display is quite good. It's not Asus level, but it's perfectly usable. RAM is 16 gig DDR4 by default, but there is a spare socket if you want to add more. No, let's try this side. I think I'm wearing out the tool the number of times I've disassembled it already. Is that a bit loose? I need to check that. It'll depend on the motherboard. I think this processor, the i5-1235U, can handle 64. But I'll check that. And I can put it on the website what it's upgradable to. It was only when I practiced tearing it down again today that I saw that it definitely is 2 sockets. I thought it was, but I actually swapped them around and verified that it is RAM sockets. Yeah, so I think it's 64 max, but I'm not 100% on that. This isn't as hard as I'm making it out to be. But this is the first time I'm live on YouTube. There we go. And then get one of these up there. Yeah, I'll put that on the website. Now I've verified that it definitely is a spare M2 slot and a spare RAM slot. I'll put that on the website and I'll find out what the maximum is. So first one I want to show you is, I think, the most important one, battery. Because so often battery wears out, whole thing's replaced. Terrible for sustainability and e-waste. These are PHOO screws. So if you get a precision screwdriver set, you'll get everything you need. Just a few screws. I know the first rule of a live stream is never be silent, but multitasking is not my strong point. Right, I think that's all the screws. So it just lifts out. Has this weird little net thing, which you can't see from there because it's dark and the picture's noisy. It's got this, still can't see it. I'll show you when I've got it off. It's got this little thing that holds it in place, which is a bit of a pain to get on and off, but is not insurmountable. And then there's a little connector here. It just pops off. And then it's free. You can buy these already on the website for £50 each. Quite sure I set it at 50. There's this string that holds the battery in place. It's a little bit fiddly to remove, but it's not insurmountable. Then you get your new battery, slot it in. It's obviously much easier when it's on the ground and gravity's in your favour. There we go. Let's get some screws in to hold it in place. Is there anything else you want me to try in Framework? Sorry, I'm distracted by the message. In real time, how does it compare to Framework in terms of ability that aren't battery, RAM, etc? How could you compare it with the Framework? I'll find the list now from the manufacturer of what can be supplied and therefore presumably fairly easily upgraded. It's not Framework level. I'm not going to pretend it's Framework level. The advantage is that it's not a starting price of £900 pre-assembled. It's £550. It's a trade-off. So, as I said, the manufacturer makes it this way. I have made a few tweaks to the final configuration of the things that I see as weak points, but using a design that they're churning out on a large scale means that I can make it a lot cheaper. So Framework is more modular, I'm going to say it, but it's also a huge amount more expensive. And this is designed to be more financially accessible. And you kind of get 90% of the benefit with 10% of the repairability. Just being able to replace the battery, the RAM, and the SSD are the main causes of obsolescence, whether it's battery wear or not enough RAM, or the SSD either wearing out or not meeting your needs. Just going to lay it down so I can have gravity on my side. So I think this isn't quite lined correctly. Do give me your questions, because once I've finished this, I'll give you a quick tour of the ports, and I think I'll wrap it up. So the pre-orders are now live on my website. For anyone who wasn't here right at the start, you'll go through the whole flow. You'll see how much it's going to cost, but it won't actually charge you yet. I won't charge you until I've got enough to go ahead. So it's not until I've got enough to go ahead. At that point, you'll get a payment link. You can cancel your order at that point for any reason. In fact, it's 30-day returns. So the clock is ticking until you've had it in your hands for 30 days. You can return it and get a refund, though you will have to pay shipping once it's been shipped to you. But until I actually place the order with the manufacturer, which will only happen when I've got enough to go ahead, you won't be charged a penny. You're doing it. It's great news. Thank you. So I was at the Hertfordshire County Show recently. I was a finalist in the competition, Lord Lieutenant of Hertfordshire's Entrepreneurs Competition. And a few people said, this needs to exist. I'm so glad it exists. And I said, well, that's exactly my thoughts. I thought someone's going to do this and no one else has, so I will. And it was the realization that these things are being churned out by factories that are repairable because it suits them. So unlike Framework, I've not had to spend literally millions of dollars designing it to be like this. The manufacturer's already designed it to be like this. And therefore I can pass that on to you as a very competitive price. Also, by manufacturing it in China, I can keep it much cheaper. Ultimately, all the parts come from China anyway, whoever you buy it from. I'm not a huge fan of buying from China, but a lot of components literally you can't get from anywhere else anyway. So it's all coming from China. You're paying a premium with the other Linux manufacturers for it to be assembled in the EU or UK. I'm just getting the whole thing put together in China, and I'm auditing the manufacturer to make sure that they're following decent standards. Time frame for delivery if I had enough orders. Once I've got enough orders, I need to finalize the compliance requirements. I've not registered the company yet, because if we don't meet that threshold, I don't want to be saddled with the obligations of a company if I only sell 10, which I can't go ahead with. So there'll be a little bit of admin to do. From me placing the order to it arriving in your hands will be less than 2 months, hopefully significantly less than 2 months. And doing sea shipping, because it's cheaper and more sustainable, which adds about 30 days in itself. And the lead time to manufacture them is maximum 30 days, hopefully less. So this is the SSD. There you go, my laptop's not focusing very well. It's a company called Skihatar, which is low end, but I was really worried about data loss. So I've really done with my sums with that. It's not so much the SSD, but the controller. And the controller's from a company called Maxio, which again, you've probably never heard of, but it's a decent manufacturer and usually supported by data recovery tools. So I wanted to be really sure that it wasn't going to lose all your data and let you down. And I'm satisfied with that. This is the RAM, just pops out. 16 gigabytes of Skihatar DDR4 RAM. And it is dual slot, so you can put it in this side as well. Right. Let me just quickly show you the ports, because this is another nice thing. I don't know why my manufacturer can do it and Dell can't, but it's got ports galore. So you've got your USB-C oh no, actually Kensington lock, the charging's on the other side. Ethernet, proper RJ45 Ethernet. USB 3s, microphone SD, another USB, full-size HDMI, so you don't need any adapters, and USB-C. It is like the laptops of yours, isn't it? And you can repair it. It's like going back in time. It powers USB-C, yeah. How thick is it? Can't remember the exact number. It's not especially thick. The rubber strip at the bottom is a little bit chunky. So on the table, it's quite high, which is actually good for the thermals. But the device itself, I mean, it's not much thicker than the USB ports. It's about as thin as it can be, really. Anything else anyone wants to ask before I wrap this up? Yes, but I can't show you because it's the laptop I'm using. So my old laptop from before I started this project is an HP EliteBook, and it's got more ports than your average consumer laptop, but nowhere near this. So there's no Ethernet full size. Does have an HDMI, which a lot of laptops don't, not full size. And it has got an SD slot. But it's even more ports than a business machine, and remarkably, even a £1,000 EliteBook, which I of course got on eBay, £500. The battery's glued, the RAM's soldered. I'd probably put more in if I could, because Windows is such a RAM hog. And my previous job, I needed Windows. Yes, I am using I'm using my HP. The webcams on these are rubbish. I don't know how else to put it. But they've shown me photos of the new sensor, and it is better. Obviously, even this is not great because it's quite dark in here. But the webcam on the final units will be better. So it's extraordinarily rare to find a laptop outside of the Linux OEMs that are very expensive, where you can replace the battery, the RAM, and the SSD. That's become a very rare species, which is why this stands out, especially at this price point, because it's only really the really high-end ThinkPads that have that level of modularity. Anything else before we wrap this up? Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. No, it's not an IR camera. My HP does, and I love it. It doesn't have the Windows Hello face, but it does support Windows Hello for the fingerprint sensor. So pre-orders are live on the website. I'm still working on the website. If there's anything that you'd like to see that isn't there, just ask me, drop me a message, because I know I've put so much energy into this and I know that it stacks up, but I don't know what you need to make that decision, because it is a difficult decision to make whether to spend £500 on a startup. So there's a contact form on the website. I don't want to put my email here just because I don't want the some bolts. And I'm assuming most of us are from the mailing list. Every email you can just press reply. I specifically designed it like that. It's not a no reply address. I hate that. It is me. It'll literally come to my inbox if you press reply. Is there anyone here? Thank you for joining and for your engagement. Is there anyone who isn't from the mailing list that's been fed this by the algorithm? Are you all the wonderful people that have been joining this journey, some of you 6 months? Amazing. Well, thank you all for bearing with me. I could have rushed it, but I wanted to get it right. And I'm only now in a position where it's ready for the world. And I didn't want to. Oh, I see. Yeah, it was primarily Reddit ads that I used to get the signups. I wanted it to be ready before, much like Zone OS, release it when it's ready, not on a specific date, which it now is. So thank you for bearing with me. And if there's anything else you want to know, you can just drop me an email anytime. But I'm going to wrap that up. Thanks for your time and have a great evening, assuming you're in the UK and it's not the crack of dawn in Australia.